Okay, good. So let's begin. And if anybody else, Jolene also cannot put her video on, that's fine. So welcome, everybody. Good morning. My name is Andreas Muscos. And also we have here Lori Vattel. There she's waving. And Lori and I are the teachers of DH10. So we'd like to begin this morning with some meditation. So if you have your own particular meditation practice, you can do that. If you don't, just simply close your eyes, keep your back relatively straight, but not tense. Just relaxed, but straight up. And close your eyes and then let your attention gravitate down to your belly. And then become aware of your breathing in your belly. And just follow your breath in and out of the belly. And if your mind wanders away, simply come back to your breathing and your belly. And we will do that for maybe 10, 15 minutes. And then I'll ring the bell to end the meditation. Okay, seems we are gathering. Yeah, so those of you who are back and can put if you can put your video on, please do so. Good to see you. So welcome to those of you that came during the meditation. Again, my name is Andreas. And here with me is also Lori Vattel. There she is waving. So the two of us are the teachers for the Diamond Heart 10 group here in Colorado. So this morning I would like to talk with you a little bit about self-worth. There are different words that we use for that. Can you all hear me well? Just give me a thumbs up. Yeah, good. Okay, thanks. So the different words that we use: self-worth, self-esteem, self-respect, self-regard, even self-dignity. But we all know what that means, really. It's like a sense of, it's like we feel a sense of, I'm worthy, I have value, I'm important. Not in the sense that I'm important and somebody else is not, or other people are not, but there is a sense that, I am worthy, I have value, I'm important. Now, most of us determine our sense of self-worth on the basis of different criteria. And if we really look into this a little more, we will see that the criteria that we use are determined to a great degree, if not totally, by our culture and our family, our schools, our churches, the atmosphere in the country where we live, even our politics. So there are many factors, many criteria that different people use to determine their self-worth. Like in our Western culture, net worth and self-worth are very closely linked. How much are you worth? So we measure that in terms of our possessions, our wealth. So in a way, since we were very little, we have internalized these values that we've been hearing and observing in our environment, in our family, in our schools, in our society. We have internalized them. And as we grew up, our superego, our superego is our inner critic that basically acts as the gatekeeper of the values, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, right? The rules that we should live by. So that superego has also internalized the criteria for our self-worth. So our superego tells us a lot about our self-worth. When we do what we are supposed to do according to the criteria, the rules, we are good. So we get praised. We are worthy. It's like the superego becomes the gatekeeper for our sense of self-worth. If we violate the rules, if we don't conform to the criteria, then it tells us that we are not worth anything, or we are, worth less. So our values and our sense of value are very intricately connected. Now, if we look at the criteria that most of us have that determine internally our sense of worth, value, these criteria can be external things, like material things, or can be internal, psychological things. They can even be spiritual things that we measure ourselves against. So it can be external and internal kinds of criteria. So what kinds of things do people use to determine their self-worth? It could be things like, are you efficient? Are you wealthy? Or are you contributing? Contributing to the family, contributing to society, to the country, to the, to the whatever, to the company. Or are you the manager? Are you the boss, the leader? So many people base their value on that. Are you at the top of the pyramid? Or do you own a big house? Or do you own a second house? Or do you have an expensive car, a sports car? Or do you have an electric car? These days, that can be a source of value. I drive an electric car, so I'm contributing to our environment, which is a good thing, but we can base our sense of worth on that. Or it could be things like, are you kind? You see, we are moving now more into psychological and spiritual kinds of qualities. Are you kind? Are you generous? Are you helpful? Some people, that's the highest praise you can give them. Oh, this is, they do something and you say, yeah, that was very helpful. It's like, you just made my day, my week. I was helpful. Or are you generous? Our generosity, can be a measure of our sense of self-worth. Are people regarding us as being generous? Or are you intelligent? Our intelligence, how intelligent we are, can be a very big factor. You know, I mean, do you remember when you were in school and in elementary school, high school, how intelligent, probably in elementary school more, how intelligent we were, that determines a lot of how we feel about ourselves. And then we can get into, our grades. I am the second in the class. I'm the fifth. I'm down on the ladder, 15th. You know, so that can determine a child's sense of self-worth. Or could be about your heart. Are you big-hearted? Do you love with a big heart? Do you feel compassion for people? Do you understand people's feelings? Are you empathetic? So you can see, that the variety of the standards, of the criteria is great. It can be very physical things like, are you pretty? Are you attractive? Are you athletic? Right? Are you tall? I remember when, I grew up in Cyprus. I was taller than my parents. I was taller than most people there. I came to the United States, like, holy cow, I am short. I'm not as tall as I thought in comparison. So our measure of value can be external or internal or both. It's not that we just have one criterion that we base our self-worth on. We use different ones, and different ones in different circumstances, in different situations. At work, I'm the efficient one. Maybe in the family, I'm the helpful one. Maybe in society, I am the kind, the generous one. And that is what gives me value. That is what makes me feel good about myself. You can see that, when things that we use are internal, they can have a lot to do with our head, intelligence, capacity, efficiency, all of those things, or it can be around our heart qualities, or our body, how our body looks. I'm healthy, I'm strong, I exercise every day. How many calories did you burn today? My Oura ring is training me very well. Tells me how many active calories have I burned today. And I can see it's like, today I burned, I met my target. There is a certain effect on how I feel. Of course, it's also the exercise that plays a big role. But again, I want to come back to the fact that our superego plays a really big role in all of this. So to not forget about the superego. So on the surface of this sense of value, we feel it as a sense of a feeling of self-esteem, of self-worth. We are sufficient. And as I said, a lot of this depends on the messages that we received as children. It's not only that we received our criteria, our values from our environment, our parents, our schools, teachers, etc., but we also received messages. Were the messages positive, supportive, or negative, demeaning, undermining? Oh, you're so good. Oh God, you're so smart. Or, you're not amount to anything. Yeah? So our parents and the people around us as we were growing up played a very important role in formulating the inner environment, the inner atmosphere of how we feel about ourselves, you know, and those were indirectly or directly connected to the particular values. You know, so if I, came home with my, report card from school with straight A's, I got positive reinforcement. I got a lot of, love and that, attention from my father. Yeah, it was, and he talked to other people about it. So, others knew, oh, he gets a straight A's. Yeah. And then how people talked, So of course, as children, feeling good about ourselves or not is very important. Our academic performance, athletic performance, uh, depends a lot on our self-esteem. And as adults, the same. If we feel good about ourselves, then we feel bold, we feel inspired, we feel innovative, and so on. We try things, But if we don't feel good about ourselves, and if we feel, I'm stupid. So any idea that we have, we think, well, that probably won't work. It's stupid. So we don't try anything. So our self-esteem determines a lot of how much we accomplish in our lives. Now, we all have different strategies. So just as I'm mentioning these strategies, just notice what kind of strategies do you use, to determine or to get value. Some of us think we have to earn it. And how we earn it determines the kinds of activities we engage in to get self-worth. Some of us feel that we have to deserve it. And there is a slight difference between, I earn it, it's like I can do things to earn it, or I deserve it. Deserving seems to be, it's more like I deserve it because, well, it could be because I did certain things, but also deserve it because I am valued. I've been told I deserve. Yeah? Or some of us think we have to work for it. You have to work hard. You have to work for it. Others, it's not about comparing ourselves to those values, to those criteria, but it's a matter of comparing ourselves to others. Am I the boss? Is my status, Am I somebody, a profession that our society values? Or do I have a profession that, society doesn't value? So I don't have status, Or some of us try to show off our qualities to other people so they admire us or accept us or love us. So it is our strategy is interactive. It's in relationship. If people love me, I have value. If people admire me, I have value. Some people, you love them, but you don't admire them. That's not enough. You have to admire them also. Some of us get our value from important authority figures. Like there are certain people that we will seek out, relate to, and see how they treat us. Do they hold us in high regard or not? Yeah. Like I remember when I was in school, when I was little, I always looked up to my teachers. If they expressed high opinions about me, you know, or my father, you know, and my father to me was more important than my mother, because my mother I knew, it's like her love was unconditional. I didn't have to do anything to have her love. But my father, I had to perform. I had to be good. I had to be the best. Yeah. So, what are the important authority figures that you engage in your strategy to gain self-worth? Now, another concept I want to bring in now is, our ego self, our personality self, which means our sense of self that is based on our personal history, like, where I come from, what nationality I am, what race I am, my religion, my personal history, how I was treated in the family. All of those circumstances created a certain conditioned sense of self. And we all have that. We can call it our ego self, our personality, it doesn't matter. But when we look at the sense of self-worth from the prism, from the lens of the ego, we see that our value is outer oriented. So in the outer oriented, whether it's external things, physical things, or inner things like, I am kind, I put all of that in the basket of external, outer oriented. It's like they are outside of what I am fundamentally. You see what I mean? It's like, what am I as a person, as a human being? What am I underneath the conditioned self, underneath my ego self, underneath my personality? Who am I? To give you an example, I remember when I was 17, I grew up in Cyprus. So when I was 17, I graduated high school. I had to go in the army for 2 years. And I remember one night, 2 a.m., I was standing guard, and my orders were, if somebody approaches that I don't know, I will ask them to stop, hold, and ask them for the password. If they know the password, I'll let them come in to the camp. If they don't, I will ask them again. I will ask them 3 times. If they don't know the password, I'll ask them to turn around and leave. And if they don't, my instructions are shoot. I'll shoot them. So here I am, 17-year-old, standing there with a gun, loaded gun in my hands, and I am contemplating, would I actually shoot somebody? Well, I have to. If I don't, I will be in big trouble. I'll be put on trial, and so big consequences if I don't do that. And what if it is somebody, if it is the enemy, and I let them in and they kill my comrades, inside, or me. Yeah. And then I started in this, so you can imagine now here, 17-year-olds standing there guard for 3 hours. I didn't have anything to do. So I was just, engaging in these philosophical discussions with myself, And I was thinking, well, the enemy is the Turks, because I was a Greek Cypriot, And then I had this interesting thought. I was born in London. My parents lived in London at the time when I was born. So I was thinking, interesting. There are a lot of Cypriots in London, at that time, because Cyprus was a British colony. So I was thinking, what if there is a Turkish woman here, a Turkish Cypriot woman here also, gave birth at the same time or so as my mother to another boy, and the nurse switched us by mistake. So what if I'm actually the Turkish woman's son? Who is my enemy really? So you can see here, I was really exploring and thinking, inquiring with myself into who am I beyond my conditioning that I am this Greek Cypriot person, And I was really beginning to see that, that sense of the nationality that I am depended on the conditioning that I received. I, grew up in a family that told me I'm Greek Cypriot, went to schools that told me that stuff. But what if I am actually not that? So it's the same kind of thing, but going even deeper. It's like, what are we underneath the conditioning? What are we as a human being, as a fundamental human being? You can say at our spiritual dimension, as a soul, as a spirit. What are we? Well, I'm bringing that in because, we are talking here about, of course, the spiritual path, the diamond approach, and the sense of self-worth from that perspective, from how does the diamond approach, this particular spiritual teaching, view this question of self-worth. So from the perspective of the diamond approach, we don't have a belief system that, you have a soul and the soul is this and this and this that you have to believe. Actually, a lot of the time, when I give talks like that, I tell people, don't believe anything I tell you. And I mean it. Because it's not about telling you stories, telling you beliefs that you need to adapt, statements that you need to believe. No, the diamond approach is about discovering for yourself. Use the tools of the diamond approach if you want to do that, to discover for yourself who you really are, what your essence is, what your beingness is, what you are underneath your conditioning. It is an experiential discovery. It's not a belief system. It's not about believing this or that or the other. It's about discovering for ourselves what we really are experientially. And so this path, this spiritual teaching, the diamond approach, or sometimes we call it diamond path, is about providing us with the methodology so that we can explore within ourselves, in our own inner laboratory, and discover the truth for ourselves. So anyway, as we engage this teaching, this path, what we find is that we do have a certain kind of an essence. We do have a certain kind of, we can call it consciousness, we can call it a presence, and it is all of those things. It is an essence, that is a presence, that is a substantiality, that is aware, that is conscious, that is consciousness. And it's like, this is like an inner kind of an organism that we can call the soul. And again, the terminology doesn't matter. I don't care if we call it the soul, or we call it our spirit, or we call it, our innerness. It doesn't matter. What's important is that there is something like that. There is something fundamental that is the same in me and you and everybody else. And at the same time, it is unique in each one of us. So it is the same, and yet it is very unique. So this particular question then of what are we have to discover experientially. And the Diamond approach gives us the tools for that. Now, as we explore this for ourselves more and more and more, what we find is that this innerness of us is made of many different qualities, or has different qualities. Like you can find that you are love, and you are compassion, and you are strength, and you are joy, and you are will. You know, sometimes we can say, well, you know, I am this presence that has love, that has compassion. But really, when you delve into each one of these qualities, you find that, yes, you can experience it as something that you have, but you also experience it as, this is what I am. I am love. I am intelligence. I am strength. I am joy. And you know what else we discover? We discover also that I am value. So value is actually one of the qualities of our spiritual nature, of our essential nature. It's not like my essential nature is valuable. No, I am value. I am the standard of value. I am the measure of value. When you measure value, when you attribute value to something, it is this internal value that you are projecting onto the object, onto the person, onto the relationship, onto anything. Now, external things, of course, I'm not saying they are not important. They are important in life. Money, house, car, intelligence, kindness, all of those qualities are important. We are not going to discard them, but they are not the criteria. They are not the determining factors for whether we have value or not. So our value, your value, is not a quality that is dependent on other qualities. In other words, your value is not conditional. If you have this, then you have value. No, no, no. Your value is unconditional and unquestionable. You are value, period. That's it. No question about it. Now, and I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm saying that you can experience this. And that's the beauty of this. It's like, it's not a belief system, you know? Beliefs, you know about belief systems? You know, beliefs. I have a joke about beliefs. They always travel with their brothers and sisters and cousins. I mean, whole pack, you know, family is like a belief system, you know, or for short, BS. And beliefs can't be that, actually, can't be just BS, because if you stop at the belief and you believe I have this and you don't really find it, it's like, I believe there is food in the refrigerator. What good is that gonna do? You have to get up and go to the refrigerator and get the food, cook it and eat it. Just believing in food doesn't do it. So it's the same with this. It's like you don't have to believe you have value. You don't have to believe you are value. Discover it. Now, there is a connection between the different qualities that I mentioned before, like kindness and this and that, and value. Particularly, value and love are very connected. Not that value comes from love, but that we value those things that we love. So love and value are very much connected. In fact, value is a quality of love. So if you explore love at this spiritual essential dimension, you'll see that there are many different kinds of love. There is like personal love that is different than compassion, that is different than universal love. It's different love between two lovers. It's different love, is different between a parent and a child. So there are different kinds of love, and love, the essence that we can identify, we can feel as love, one of these kinds of love is value. So value is a kind of love. It's a kind of love of ourselves. But the important thing to really get here is that this value is actually a presence. It's like a substance, not a physical thing. It's a physical substance. It's like a subtle substance. So when we say a presence, that's what we mean. It's a substance that is palpable. You can feel it internally. And this value is like the substance that when you actually feel it, it gives you a sense of value. It's like it's unmistakable. This is value. This is not strength. This is not compassion. No, this is value. So value is like distilled value. The measure of value is self-existing value. It doesn't get its value from something else. It gives value to everything else. So it's like when we feel self-worth, that feeling of self-worth is like the aroma. It's like the aroma that emanates from this essence that we know as value. And when you feel it, when you experience it, you can experience it in many different ways. You can touch it internally, or you can see it. And when you see it, I mean, not with your physical eyes, you can see it internally. When you see it internally, the color is amber. So it's an amber color, very close to gold, actually. It's very interesting. Why do we value gold? Why has gold become, some people say, well, because it's very rare. Well, yeah, there are other things that are more rare, actually. Why did we put value on gold? I don't know, I'm speculating here, but I think it could be that at some level we know intuitively that value has that color, the amber color, and gold is very close to that color. And when you taste it, it's very sweet. And it has a fullness, a richness to it. It's like it's condensed, distilled value. It's like when they take roses and they squeeze them and they get the essence of the rose, and you make rose water or the essence of rose. It's like this. It's like, this is the essence of value. Except you don't have to squeeze anything to get it. You just dive within yourself. It's an amber liquid that is delicate, exquisite, smooth, and yet it has a condensed density to it, and a sweetness, a deliciousness to it. It's like an exotic dessert when you actually taste it, because you can taste it. It is delicious. It has a richness to it, a substantiality, a fullness. And you feel it, you know it. It's like, this is pure value. This is just pure value. And you feel a complete satisfaction, because it's a very personal thing. It belongs to you as a soul, as a spiritual being. It is what you are made of. You're made of other qualities too, but this is what your soul can manifest. You are value. You are not valuable. You don't have value. You are value. So that's why nobody can take it away from you. You cannot lose it. You cannot do anything that will make you not have it. It's not like you can have it if you are a good human being. No, you have value. You are value, no matter what. So that's why I called it indestructible self-worth. Because when you discover this sense of value, this deep quality of value within yourself, nothing can shake it. Nothing can destroy it. Nothing can put it into question. And from there, that sense of inner value can become the foundation or the springboard from which you can dive deeper and discover other qualities of your true nature, of your essential nature, which is, a magnificence and the majesty and the grandeur and the beauty and the pleasure and the joy that is indescribable. It's like all the joys of the world are reflections of this inner blissfulness. All the pleasures of the world are reflections of the pleasure that we are. Because in the same way that we are value, we are also pleasure. So there is a quality that is pure pleasure. So you can say, in a very real way, you are based on value. Well, let's do an exercise. In the diamond approach, as I said, we don't just talk, we explore. We find out, we discover for ourselves, is this true or not? I don't care what Andreas says. Don't believe anything he tells you. Just find out for yourself. What's the truth? So I would like to give you an exercise. We call it a repeating question. For those of you who don't know how we do this, we'll go into breakout rooms in dyads, 2 people together. And I'll give you these 2 repeating questions, 2 questions, and you just repeat it to each other. So first, person A will say the question, and person B will answer it. And then person A will ask the question again and answer it, and again and again. So person A will keep repeating the question for 10 minutes. And then you will switch. Person B will ask the question and person A will be answering it. Okay? Now, when you are the person that asks the question, you just ask the question. You don't make comments. You don't even make facial expressions that are approving or disapproving. It doesn't matter what the person says. Maybe they are doing the exercise wrong. It doesn't matter. Let them do the exercise the way they do it. That's how they will discover. Yeah. And then after both of you have done the first question, 10 minutes this way and 10 minutes that way, then you will go to the second question, 10 minutes this way and 10 minutes that way. Okay. So that will be basically 20 minutes plus 20 minutes, 40 minutes. And then we will take a 10-minute break. So say 50 minutes. So we'll be back at 12 o'clock. So in 50 minutes or so. Okay. 51 minutes and 15 seconds, according to my atomic clock. But now let me give you the questions. So the first one is, tell me a way you try to get value. Tell me a way you try to get value. And I'm going to put this in your chat, okay? So you will be able to see the questions. There they are. So the first one is, tell me a way you try to get value. And the next question is, tell me a way you experience your self-worth. Tell me a way you experience your self-worth. Okay. So those are the two questions. And let me see if there are any questions about the exercise.